The Shadow Magic Sorcerer has been my favorite subclass in patch 8 of Baldur's Gate 3, and here is a Shadow Magic Sorcerer build guide that I've been working on for a while now. It's a whole lot of fun. We want to have a good coverage here because we get a dog called the Hound of Ill Omen, which can apply omens on enemies, and whenever an omen's on the target, you got to deal a specific elemental damage type to regain sorcery points. So this is why we want to be taking a wide variety of different spells, as we sometimes won't be getting, different damage types. Like acid is particularly a difficult damage type to get, so we're going to want to take that here. So I went Bone Chill, Acid Splash, Shocking Grasp, and Ray of Frost. And for our spells, Shield is just super useful for your survivability, and Magic Missile. With the Shadow Magic Sorcerer, you get the superior Dark Vision and Strength of the Grave. If you reach 0 health points, you regain 1 instead of being down. Now, for our ability scores, I think it's best to build around our Dexterity and our Charisma as the main spellcasting stat. You could also go 17 Charisma and use the Hag's Hair if you'd like, but we're going to roll with 16 Dexterity, 14 Constitution, 10 Intelligence, Wisdom, and 16 Charisma. And make sure that you have the Persuasion skill proficiency there. And also having Deception is not a bad one to have as well for face skills. Now, I'll be going through a full build guide, showing off gear options, and showing off combat so you get an idea of how to best play this Sorcerer. At level 2, we get ourselves more spells. I recommend Thunderwave because we don't have many thunder damage spells, but this also can knock enemies off of ledges, which is really fun. And for the meta magics, Distance Spell and Twin Spell work very well. We're going to be able to cast Distance Spell for free, as I'll show you here soon. At level 11, we get a special ability. And Twin Spell is nice because Twinning Haste is one of the best things that you can do in Baldur's Gate 3. At level 3, we get ourselves another selection of different spells here, with some of the better ones being Hold Person, Misty Step, and Scorching Ray. Scorching Ray is guaranteed nice damage. It does 3 rays of fire, but Hold Person is teamingly the best one that we can get early game. And we're going to go with the Meta Magic Quicken Spell. 3 sorcery points for a spell at on a bonus action is very useful because we can drop multiple fireballs or lightning bolts per level. Now for our next cantrip, I'd recommend Firebolt again, just to cover fire damage. Also, Poison Spray can be nice because you could get a Poison Omen. There's not very many reliable poison options, so that's another one there that we have. And at next level, we'll take the Scorching Ray. We don't really need Misty Step, as at level 11, we do get a better one, but you could take it early game. You could even replace a spell and take it there, just for extra survivability. Now, at level 4, we're going to take an increase to our Charisma. That's just a really useful thing to have. At level 5, we get ourselves our first level 3 spells, Haste being one of the most useful because we can twin this to ourselves and someone else. However, we want to hold a concentration on Darkness, as that's a big deal with the Shadow Magic Sorcerer. I didn't show, but at a previous level, we did get a special Darkness spell, which I'll be using extensively throughout this because there's one that uses 2 sorcery points and there's one that uses your spell levels. You can use whatever one of those you want. So for that reason, with Darkness being our concentration, Lightning Bolt and Fireball become very useful because we can cast these and hit a bunch of enemies at once. At level 6 is when we get our Hound of Ill Omen. Summon forth a Creature of Darkness. So again, this dog can apply omens on targets. It can also do an Umbral Tangle, grouping enemies, hitting enemies and causing them to be bound to the ground, which is super useful. In addition, if it gets hit with a melee attack that doesn't have radiant damage, it can splinter off into another dog, which can splinter off into another dog and another dog and another dog. It's pretty fun. Then we also get ourselves another spell here, which I think Fireball works great, but also nice to have Counterspell too, as Counterspell can really help out with shutting down enemy spellcasters. Now for next level, Ice Storm is nice. Even Counterspell can be quite useful, but I think that Ice Storm is just great for having a non-concentration crowd control. You can make difficult surfaces with this, which is super useful because you can hide out in your darkness and have difficult paths to get towards you. Confusion's also another nice spell that we could go with. This is a crowd control, but it does require concentration, so that's something to be mindful of. At next level, level 8, we get ourselves another spell, with Counterspell again being a really nice one to take, so we're going to take this at this level. You could also alternatively take Confusion, but that does require concentration. And we'll go with Ability Score Improvement here to take our Charisma all the way up to 20. And at level 9, we get our level 5 spells, with some being very effective, like Hold Monster and Cone of Cold. 8d8 of cold damage hitting multiple targets is one of the best, especially because we can hide in darkness, and that's going to be a really reliable damage option for us. At level 10, we get again another cantrip here. I'll take Firebolt. Thunder Booming Blade is tempting, however, it's probably best for us to take Firebolt to be able to deal with any type of omen that's fire damage if we run out of like spell slots. At next level, we could go with Insect Plague or Hold Monster. Hold Monster is very useful. And for this, Careful Spell is pretty nice too. Subtle Spell can also be good if we get silenced often, although it doesn't happen too often. So I think that that one works well. Even heightened spell can be pretty useful too for landing your spells. Once we make our way to level 11 is when we get the most powerful ability here, the Shadow Walk. Teleport to the shadows. It's basically a free Misty Step if we got darkness set up anywhere. The next spell that you cast will benefit from distance spell without costing any sorcery points. So you can increase the range of your spells by 50% after casting this. This is a great peel, so you can use this to get away from combat and then cast something with increased range where they may not be able to hit you. And once we get to next level, Chain Lightning is one of the best spells that we could get. However, Global Invulnerability is also quite nice at a lot of points in the late game, so this is another option that we got. With Global Invulnerability, it does require concentration though. We're going to take it for our last spell level. Circle of Death is kind of nice, but necrotic damage isn't the most powerful in the game. It's just a huge area of effect. Now for the last spell, Alert for the +5 initiative is nice because we can set up and get sorcerers really want to go first because you can do a bunch of your crowd control options or just deal a lot of damage with them. So that's something that's really nice to get set up early. We could also go with the Spell Sniper and take Eldritch Blast, as we don't have a reliable force damage option other than Magic Missile if you wanted to burn a spell level. If you don't use the Amulet of Greater Health, Warcaster would be nice to be able to give advantage in Constitution saving throws to hold your concentration on spells. And in addition, again, Alert for the +5 initiative I think works best here because sorcerers really benefit from going first in combat. So yeah, what we want to be doing first here is once we got our spell set up, we want the Hound of Omen. We always want to summon that in early. It has 42 health, and what's nice about it is that it has that Umbral Tangle with a large area of effect, and also the Ominous Bite. But as for the gear options we'll be rolling with, I know people are going to ask me, using the Femme Fatale tactical dress mod made by Skirby, so yeah, that's the dress that I am using there, but that's not what we're going to be using. So, the Robe of the Weave is one of the better options we got for armor here, giving a bonus to our spell save DC and spell attack roll, and +2 armor class. This is a late game option. The Potent Robe is a really nice early-ish game option. Your cantrips will deal additional damage equal to your Charisma modifier, so +5 on our cantrips, and it'll give us temporary health, so 5 temporary health per turn, +1 to initiative. We also can get Moon Devotion here, which will give us a nice Lunar Bulwark, which gives us basically mage armor. So we could go with this as well as an early game option. Applying the Lunar Bulwark here just gives us some extra armor. So once we apply that to ourselves, it's basically just the mage armor. So we'll put our armor class to 21. We'd also take the Boots of Protection to give ourselves 22. And there's gloves that'll give an additional armor class 2 if we wanted to. But I think that this works well with like the Robe of the Weave. And you're going to go with like the Protecty Sparks Wall mid to early game. Festive Soul Rejuvenation is okay late game option as well, or Wave Mother's Robe, which I do like to use as well, giving resistance to fire and cold damage. Really, whatever robes you got early game, the best one's probably being Potent Robe there. Robe of Supreme Defense is also a nice, pretty early game one. Moon Devotion Robe if you're going to go Evil Path. But even if you got Helldusk Armor, that's another great choice you could go with. Obviously, it's going to put our armor class up quite a bit. But yeah, if you're going early game options, Robe of the Weave is a pretty good choice to go with. So we're going to roll with that. The Birthright will give us a +2 to our Charisma, which will bring it up to a 22 Charisma. And also the Cloak of Protection for the +1 armor class. Nice. We can even go with the Deathstalker Mantle for free invisibility. Now I got the Gloves of the Blizzard Skies here. Thunder, Lightning, and Radiant damage will apply radiation or reverberation on the target. Same as the Boots of Stormy Clan whenever you inflict a condition, which if you have the Illithid ability drain, you can apply that really easily because it'll do a charisma reduction there. Gemini Gloves are nice as well, targeting additional creatures. Early game option, Gloves of Dexterity, so you can dump your Dexterity and put it into other stats like higher Constitution for better survivability. This will set your Dexterity to 18. Helldusk Gloves are nice too. Additional spell casting is nice. The Spell Might Gloves are a decent one later in the game as well, which will increase the amount of damage that we can do with our spells. Winter's Crutches, if you do cold damage, can imply a crust with frost. So there's a few different options. The Gloves of Dexterity probably one of the best ones, but I'm going to go with the Gloves of Blizzard Skies and try to stack up as much reverberation alongside Boots of Stormy Clamor. Cryptlord Ring, Create Undead, just fits thematically with the Shadow Sorcerer and their theme of the undead. Snowburst Ring is also nice though with our Cone of Cold, Ice Storm. We can create extra ice surfaces and even the Ray of Frost cantrip. However, if you got some other rings that you like to use, there's nothing super dire that we do need here. Like Crusher's Ring can be okay for additional movement speed. But I just like Cryptlord Ring for that free, being able to give yourself a undead. Even the Ring of Regeneration for a bit of extra health can work good, or Ring of Free Action for not getting hit with difficult terrain, although it's not something we got often because we can teleport around, so that's not a huge worry for us. I also like the Hellrider Longbow for the +3 to initiative. Viconia's Walking Fortress best shield, use the best shield available. and Markaheshker for late game staff. Although early game, if you got the Morning Frost, this is a pretty good staff to have. This will give you cold damage buffs, so I'd recommend doing more cold spells early in the game if you got that staff there. It's entirely up to you, whatever spells. Even the Mistress staff, the one that gives you Bless, can be a nice spell or a nice staff option early on. The best is obviously Markaheshker, but Morning Frost is also very useful. If you have the Markaheshker, you want to have Kreska's Favor up, and the Bolts of Doom is going to give us extra lightning damage. But what we want to do is we want to set up our darkness early on. This does require concentration, as I mentioned, so that's something to keep in mind. But I want to show off what this is going to look like in combat here. So the best way to set up is anytime you know you're getting into combat, you want the Eyes of the Darkness to be set up, or your other darkness spell. The Eyes of the Dark is nice because it uses sorcery points, so we can save our spells for something else. Now this darkness is super useful because we're able to see in it and they can't see us, so that just makes the fight a whole lot easier. So we want to get into our darkness, we're going to camp out, and you're going to see here that we can cast spells from our darkness. So this is super useful because if you can block off a doorway, they can actually do range attacks through it. They can only do throwing attacks, which is really funny because they won't be able to use their bow attacks on us. So with this, we don't have actually our dog does have the same initiative, so that's perfect. What we can do is we can have it do our Ominous Bite. Not a super high hit chance. It's saved on the Ominous Bite, unfortunately. It probably would have been better to use the Umbral Tangle, but I wanted to apply an Omen there so we can recover our sorcery points. So let's leave that there. Now we have a lot of targets here that are, you know, we need to take out. So Fireball is our best friend, or even a Chain Lightning. I like to have, if there's Cleric, to set up Create Water because this will double the damage of it, which is really nice. But we'll just go ahead with our Chain Lightning here, trying to take out other mages. That didn't chain, just lightning. Cool. But that was supposed to hit multiple targets, so I guess we'll drop a Fireball here to try and hit as many as we can. What's also nice is if you got Arcane Battery, you can always upcast your Fireballs to level 6 here with this staff, which is going to ensure that we do a ton of damage with it. So perfect. They got hit quite hard by that. For some reason they're not in combat, so they're just going to heal themselves over and over again. Then we also got our Quicken spells, which we could use, but I'm just going to end her off here. So we have been relatively safe here, only taking a few points of damage from a throwing attack, so that's really nice. Now we got ourselves the chance to take on some more enemies here. We do have another Chain Lightning we could drop. I really do like dropping any type of damaging spells early on to try and reduce as many enemies. This game is about the action economy. If you can remove more actions early on, there's going to be less damage that your whole team will take. What's also nice is with the Eyes of the Dark, you can see normally in darkness, both magical and non-magical, to a distance of 25 meters. So that's the nice thing about the Eyes of the Dark version of this darkness, as that gives us the ability to hide out in it. Now we also get lightning charges from our staff here, which is pretty useful. If you have the lifted ability free cast, that's super nice because then we can just go ahead with our lightning bolt. Prioritizing any type of caster, if you can see a caster type enemy, they're going to be the ones we want to go first because they're going to drop you with command, things like that. We don't have high wisdom, so I'm just going to go ahead here, and that finally worked to chain and hit 4 people. You're pretty safe from within your darkness, so that's quite nice. Now we could also, there is this one guy in between the us and our dog, so I'll try to take him out next and then get the dog to run in there and attack him. So I guess we'll go with a Scorching Ray, which has advantage because we're in our darkness here, so that should, yeah. Ooh, yeah, that did a lot of damage. Even hit with him force damage, or thunder damage. So now we can bring our dog ahead here and try to apply an Omen on a target. So we still got a Quicken spell that we could drop. So we'll bring the dog in here to get a hit with the Ominous Bite and just to be able to show this off. Hopefully they don't save on it. Omen of Acid. Perfect. This is exactly why. What's also kind of funny is I'll proc an opportunity attack here so that we can splinter our dog off. Didn't work on that, unfortunately. But normal attacks will splinter that off. Wasn't 100% sure if that still worked. Now we got our Omen of Acid on this target, so that's what we got Quicken spell for. This is not a good option. I'm just going to be clear. 3 sorcery point usage to get 1 back is not a big stonks deal. I'm still going to do it though, just to show how this works. And we do have to move our dog a little bit more. So oh, it turns over. Whoop. That's fine. We'll eat the attack. There we go. We got the Shadow Splinter. So we made another dog. What's the dog doing? Yeah, so that's the coolest thing about this. And then we can use our healers to keep it full of health and then continually make more little puppers. So yeah, Quicken spell, Omen of Acid, get rid of that. Oh, I'm going to hit the dog. Oh, crap. That's fine. Boom. Oh, it's saved on it. We got our sorcery point back. Great, epic deal. That's awesome. Hide back out in your darkness and you're safe. And we're going to heal our doggo because that's what a good owner would do. And keep him full of health. Perfect. So Doggo's gonna do an ominous bite again. Hopefully set up an omen. Oh, miss. Okay, cool. Yeah, I want to be able to get an omen off and show you guys that again. So we'll just skip our turns. Another splinter shadow. We can do this all day. So you can continually make puppers, which is amazing. I love that. They're going for the main hand attack here against us, which is not going to be very likely for them to land it. We got our splintered Shadow Hound. We got our good boy Nimbus here. So well, I guess it doesn't count as the same initiative because the splintered one is actually breaking our initiative. It's hilarious. We actually don't have to, we can't use them both. Didn't work out too well, so I'll just end my turn there. Because this one works on its own, so it actually broke our initiative between it. That's cool to use the Umbral Tangle there to actually hold that in place and then ran off. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Yeah, that's amazing. Now we can keep Shadowheart around just to go ahead with another heal on the doggo. So it stays full of health and continues to make more puppies for us to play around with. And it's already used, that was the Umbral Tangle there I mentioned. So we'll use the big bite, doggy bite, and it missed again. Not a great hit chance, that's fine. We'll just let it do its thing. And yeah, bonk, knock them prone, that's fine. We'll just skip our turn again, let doggo do its thing. Maybe it'll do an ominous bite. It just did a normal bite, cool. And it ran out into our darkness. What a good boy. What a good boy. All right, we'll see what this can do now. Hopefully we land it because we have advantage finally. So there we go. It's saved on the ominous bite. That's going to happen from time to time. That's just part of it. But with the dog, you do have a high chance of regaining some sorcery points, which is going to be nice over a course of a playthrough. All right, we'll try that again. It's got advantage, so there we go. It's saved on the ominous bite again. That's okay. And I guess I'll also show off the shadow walk. So this is our bonus action that we can use to teleport to anywhere there's shadows. You can see here, shadow, not shadow. It's actually really cool. So we could use this to zip zap zoobity bop our way out of here, and then we get distant spell here. So what's nice about that, as you can see, we can get out of their range. They will have no chance of hitting us, but we can still hit them. So we can run away, boom, long range from downtown, 3-pointer. It's good. So yeah, this is an amazing class. I really enjoy playing around with the good boy doggo here. So yeah, this is a blast. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.